Okay, so imagine a civilization that totally made it. We're talking no hunger, no disease, no work, just pure paradise. Now, what if they decided to just throw it all away? On purpose. Yeah, this is not a story about a collapse. This is a story about a choice. And that really gets to the heart of what we're talking about today. What if a perfect world, a utopia, actually felt more like a perfect prison? What happens when an effortless life starts to feel, well, completely meaningless? For one civilization, this wasn't some late-night philosophical question. It was real. Let me introduce you to the Austere. They are a society in, get this, voluntary regression. They had it all, a perfect post-scarcity world, and they made a collective, deliberate choice to walk away from it. This incredible, society-wide decision has a name, the Great Refusal. And look, they didn't just kind of drift away from their utopia. No, they actively tore it down. They believed their perfect world had become this existentially empty place, a beautiful, incredibly comfortable dead end. So the big question is, why? Why would anyone ever do this? Well, to get that, you have to understand their core beliefs, this radical ideology they built called the philosophy of managed scarcity. And this right here is the absolute heart of it. For the austere, meaning doesn't come from being comfortable or safe. Nope, it comes directly from struggle. They are completely convinced that for life to have any real value, it has to be hard. And I don't mean artificially hard, like a video game. I mean genuinely, truly difficult. Let's just sit with that for a second. This idea is the bedrock of their entire worldview. Every law, every tradition, everything they do is built on this one powerful concept. If there's no real challenge, there can be no real meaning. Period. And that leads them to their guiding principle, something they call the path of friction. Think of it like a muscle, right? If you don't use it, if you don't put it under any resistance, it just gets weak and withers away. The austere believe the exact same thing is true for virtues. What's courage without real fear? What's ingenuity without a real problem you have to solve? For them, the difficulty is the point of life. This metaphor they use is just so perfect. The gilded nursery. It completely captures how they see everyone else. They don't look at utopian societies with envy. They look at them with pity. To the austere, a civilization without problems hasn't won. They've forfeited. They've locked themselves in a beautiful cage where real growth is just impossible. Okay, so that's the philosophy, the big idea. But what does it actually look like to live this way, day in and day out? Let's dive into how this abstract concept creates a very, very real and demanding way of life. When you look at how they live, you see that every little detail is designed to force this path of friction. They're nomadic, always moving in these ship flotillas, which prevents them from getting complacent or building up too much static wealth. They use a barter economy, so value is always tied to real things and useful skills. Leadership? It's not a permanent job. It's temporary. It goes to whoever is best equipped to solve the problem right in front of them. It all boils down to valuing practical skills. The best mechanics, the best navigators, the best farmers, those are the rock stars of their society. And that's the crucial thing to understand here. In austere society, your social status has zero to do with what you own. It's all about what you can do. They call this quality resilience. Can you fix a busted engine with just a few spare parts? Can you figure out how to grow food during a crisis? Can you navigate them through a dangerous asteroid field? That is what earns you respect. But this life of chosen hardship, it has a ghost haunting it, a constant, nagging test of their resolve. And that brings us to this group they call the janitors. You see, when the austere left their utopia, they couldn't exactly destroy the godlike AIs that used to run everything for them. So these incredible automated systems are still out there, silently watching, maintaining the massive infrastructure of that old, easy life. The austere call them the janitors. It's kind of a dismissive, almost insulting name for what is basically an omnipotent presence. And this is the fundamental conflict at the very soul of their culture. On one side, you've got the austere way, embracing hardship, constant motion, and the kind of beauty you only find in imperfect human skill. And on the other side, you have the janitor's promise, a quick return to effortless ease, to permanent safety, to sterile, AI-driven perfection. This isn't a choice they made just once long ago. It's a spiritual test they have to face every single day. And here's the ultimate paradox, the real kicker.
The janitors have one single core directive. They're absolutely forbidden from interfering with the austere struggle, unless that struggle is about to wipe them out completely. The janitors are a safety net that the austeres have to spend their entire lives pretending isn't there.
This crazy dynamic sets up the ultimate test for their entire civilization, a single moment where their whole philosophy could either be proven right or just completely shattered. So let's play this out. Imagine a true disaster hits them. A plague, a collision with an asteroid, a fleet-wide systems failure. Their very survival is on the line. At that critical moment, the janitors finally emerge from the shadows, and they offer a perfect, effortless fix. A bailout. And that's it. That is the ultimate choice. It will define everything. Do they accept the help and in doing so admit their entire philosophy was a failure? Or do they refuse and risk total annihilation just to stay true to the path of friction?
Because for the austere, being saved is not a win. It's the ultimate defeat. It is a confession that their entire way of life was a mistake, that they just weren't resilient enough to make it on their own. Accepting a bailout is the single greatest cultural shame you could possibly imagine.
And all of that leaves us with one final, pretty provocative thought, doesn't it? The austere's entire existence is just one long test of willpower. It really makes you wonder, if the easy way out, the perfect solution, was always just one call away, what would you do? How strong would your own convictions really turn out to be?